Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of The Fishing Teacher. Got a little on the water video for y'all today. We're going to be talking about how to fish the back of a cove. Now it seems simple, but guys, there's a lot of different techniques that you can use. And what we're going to do today is I'm going to turn the camera around, and I got a perfect example of a cove back end here. And I'm sort of going to go over, just a wide-ranging bunch of techniques that you can use, all year long, not just the springtime of the year, but you can actually catch fish in the back of these coves pretty much all year except for the winter time. So I'm sort of going to run you through it a little bit and sort of show you guys how I like to fish it, and it's been working pretty good for me over the years, so we're going to get into that in today's episode. Also guys, quick reminder, I don't know if you guys have saw it, but Solar Bat has got 30% off on my Signature Series sunglasses right here for the month. If you guys are interested in getting a pair, I'll put the Solar Bat link in the description of this video. You can order them through there. It's a good way to get you some good glasses and help the channel out too, so appreciate that. Okay guys, I'm going to turn the camera around here. I'm sort of going to talk a little bit about it, and then we'll sort of go over this thing in detail. So here we go. Okay guys, here's a good example of a cove back end, just a typical cove back end. Now some coves are flatter, some are a little bit steeper, some have differing water clarities, so that's going to determine how you fish a lot. But the key areas in the back of a cove is everywhere back in here. Now sometimes the fish can be like in the very middle of it, sometimes on the bank, sometimes in the very back end. But the main thing about that, it depends on the water clarity and the water temperature where you're going to find these fish. So one of the things that's really key in the back of these coves here is try to get a idea for how deep the water is in it, and then you can really pattern them. Depending upon the angle of the bank, you may have varying depths of water in there. But this is a good example of what I'm talking about here. Now, when I'm talking about the back of a cove, I talk about the back 1/4. We're about 3/4 of the way back in here right now. So this is what I can sort of the type that this is. I don't like run to the very back. I usually start about 3/4 of the way and work to the back. So this is a good example right here. Okay, guys, the techniques, it just sort of depends on the time of the year, and I'm sort of going to run through y'all spring, summer, and fall, how I like to fish these cove back ends, different techniques. Now, in the springtime of the year, the fish will start moving back in here once the water temperature starts getting around 50 degrees. And usually some bigger fish when they do that. And one of my favorite ways to catch them when they first start moving back in here is with a lipless crankbait. I just take a lipless crankbait, fan cast it everywhere, in the middle, on the sides. Really good if you got water visibilities of about less than 3 feet. Now, if you got water visibilities of greater than 3 feet, you really need to have about 10 foot of water in the middle of the cove for those fish to really use it and that water clarity. And in that situation, I like a jerkbait. Again, fan casting that jerkbait all around the back ends, really good way to catch them. Now, when that water temperature starts to get closer to 60 degrees, the fish are going to shift as far as their mood and personality. And this is when I stay in these same type of areas, guys, but I go to a wacky rig. Wacky rig soft plastic stick bait, really good. A fluke is really good. Sometimes some type of a light shaky head can be good. And a wake bait. The wake bait is really good when that water temperature is around 60 degrees in the back of these things. But that you're gonna notice that the moving baits are not quite as effective, except for the top water, once those fish start spawning. Now, after they get done spawning, these fish will still stay back in here because they're garden fry. The bass don't just leave the back ends once they spawn here. They'll hang around garden fry for a little bit. And this is a really good time to catch them on the top water. Little chugger's really good for that. I tell you, one of my favorites, guys, that nobody uses much anymore is like just the old number 11 Rapala, just the black and silver floating Rapala. Throw it back in there and just twitch it an inch or so into the surface and let it come back to the top. Caught a lot of good fish doing that. Now, in the summertime, these things can be pretty good too. One of the reasons, or the main reason these fish are back here in the summertime, is the perch spawn back here. Bluegill and black perch and red ear sunfish, they'll spawn in the back of these coves all summer long. And if you've got a little bit of off-colored water, you can catch them really good, like on a swim jig, maybe some type of a walking top water. But you don't really have to see the beds, the bluegill beds. One of my favorite techniques is I run and gun the back of these coves with a swim jig, just covering water. And if there's any, bass back in here feeding on perch, they usually get it. That usually lasts pretty good up until like September. And from about September to, into November or something, I'm I'm still fishing the back ends of these, but most of the time I'm using a top water. A walking top water is probably my #1 bait from September till the end of October. Really good to catch them on there all day long too, because it can be a bluebird sky just like we have right now. And in like September and October, you know, you can take like a super spook or something like that, just fan cast the back of them and catch them. And the cycle sort of repeats is because when it starts to get like November and December and those water temperatures start dropping back down into the 50s like they were in March, you can also catch them again on a lipless crankbait in the same type of areas. So anyway, guys, bass, these are prime bass habitats, the back of these coves. Fish live in them a lot, you know, not just bass, but a lot of different type of fish live back in here. You know, carp, you know, a lot of turtles, just a lot of life. So that's just a few of my favorite ways to fish them, guys. So hope it helps out. We'll talk later.